If I had to describe Miguel as a person, it's hard. I think he's a really complicated young man, and I think he doesn't know who he is yet. And I think he's really struggling between being the good kid, that his grandmother wants him to be and wishes for him, and just being able to relax and let go, right? And not have to worry so much about all the things that he's had to worry about in his short life at this point. Yeah, so I had the chance to talk with Miguel's grandmother without Miguel present, and that's always a really tricky thing as a therapist when you work with kids, especially with teenagers, is how to maintain that alliance, that sense of connection and confidentiality that teens really need when you still need to, at times, speak to their caregivers. And I know something that I am always really conscious of is making sure that adolescents know both if I've spoken to someone, when I can, I get permission from them to do that, and also what I've talked about and what I haven't talked about, right? Because that issue of privacy, it's critical for all kids, but I think especially for teens, that issue of privacy is such a core developmental need, and it's critical to being able to maintain a therapeutic relationship. Yeah, a few times while we were talking during this session, I know I named my own experience, like, I'm struggling with, or here's what I'm thinking about. And part of that is I don't always know exactly the exact right way to respond or which choice to make in a conversation with a young person. And I think that transparency of what my own internal process is can be really important. So that as I'm struggling to, should we do this, or should I interpret it this way or that way, I want Miguel to be empowered, or any young person to be empowered in their own therapy to be part of guiding those choices. So as a therapist who is, I'm a white cisgendered woman from a relatively resource privileged background, sitting with a young man like Miguel who comes from a very different background than I do, can be a challenge because I can't necessarily step into his life experience, right? And he knows that, and I know that. And when such a significant part of his life experience is the experience of injustice in the world, and especially directly for him and his encounters with the police system, really naming and acknowledging the differences in our experience is pretty critical, right? I'm aware when I speak to him that I can just begin to scratch the surface of understanding, and it's so important to create enough safety in our relationship that he's able to go there with me in a way that feels safe and comfortable for him, but without me pretending to know exactly what he's talking about, and sort of finding that respectful balance. Yeah, in our session, I felt like almost there were lots of small turning point moments that felt important. I know that it felt really significant when we began to talk about Miguel's mother. Miguel's been really protective of that relationship, and I think he's obviously grieved that relationship hard. And so letting me in a little bit to that conversation about his mother was big. It's not something that he's allowed very often in our past sessions. And so that felt significant. There was a little bit of an opening there. And I think as we sort of followed along and were able to go deeper into who he saw himself as, his sense of not just how he sees himself, but how everyone else sees him, that felt really important. because so much of what's happening for him is in this struggle to be his genuine self. And I don't think he knows yet, of course, because he's 17, who that is.
My old therapist was a younger man who was also Hispanic, so it was a little bit easier for me to immediately connect with him. Whereas with Margaret, I feel like it just took a while for me to, I guess, trust her. Still not too sure that I do entirely, because it just feels like she's part of the system that's forcing me to be here. So it's weird. It's different. It's not like it was before. I hadn't seen Margaret in a while, and it was the first time since my incident with the police and everything, since my arrest. So I was nervous going in because I thought she was going to be mad at me too. Disappointed the way Abuela was, the way everyone seems to be. But she treated me, the same as she did before the incident, which not anyone has done. I didn't feel like I needed to explain myself to her. I just needed to be honest about what happened. And that was a bit of a relief, and I was not expecting to feel that way, so that was probably the biggest surprise. The part that I really helped me understand where I'm at a little bit more was her when she asked me to really focus on how I view myself, because I think it made me realize that I don't really view myself differently from the way other people view me. I kind of let that be the way I view myself. And I don't want it to be. I don't want everyone to view me the way the police do, the way Abuela does, the way my father does, the way anybody does. So I think something that, I don't know, I guess that I can do is try and develop more of a sense of who I am. And I think I got that today from Margaret.